In this video, I'll share 6 key lessons from having spent over $52 million in Google Ads over the past few years, and how you can apply those lessons to your campaign so you can actually grow your business predictably and not waste ad spend. So my name is Greg Ranger. I own a marketing agency called Ranger MediaLab, and we're currently managing over $2.4 million in Google ad spend a month. So let's get into it. Lesson number 1, lead segmentation. So let's take a simple example. Let's say, you give loans, maybe car loans, right? So you're a financial institution, people apply online to get car loans. People fill out a form, and then in the back end, obviously there's some due diligence, but you grade those leads, right? So not all leads are created equal. Maybe some leads are of a higher quality, so we could call those leads grade A. Then you have some middle of the road leads, grade B, and then the bad leads are called grade Cs, right? So most Google Ads account, they actually optimize just for people opting in, right? So they don't make the distinction between a grade A, B, or C. They just say, hey, Google, find me people to opt in, and that's it, right? The problem with that is that you're now training the AI to optimize for all sorts of quality, good, bad, and middle of the road. So what we want to do instead is segment those leads, and in this case, grade A's, B's, and C's, and only optimize for the grade A's, ideally, if there's enough of them, right? So what this looks like, though, in practice is if we flip over to a Google Ads account, the form submission might be just a generic form submission, like, hey, everybody optimizes for that. But then eventually you're going to get some grade A's, B's, and C's. And then you want to set the campaign to only optimize for the grade A's if there's enough volume, right? So in practice, what this looks like is if you're starting a new account, you don't have much data yet, right? So you want to only optimize for the opt-in. But as you get more, data in the account, you'll start to see grade A's coming in, and then grade B's and grade C's. You'll want to switch over. So remove that conversion that your campaigns are optimizing for, and set it as secondary, or just remove it from the targeting. And then eventually only optimize for grade A's and B's, and then eventually, if there's enough, it's grade A's. Now, what is enough? Enough by Google's terms for a standard search campaign is 15 conversion in a 30-day window. Keep in mind that is the bare minimum. So that's one conversion every 2 days. The more, the merrier, obviously. So ideally, you want 30 in 30 days, but like I said, the more, the better, because Google Ads AI works with data. So the more good data you feed it, the more it finds that higher quality lead. So again, just to be super clear, most accounts, they only optimize for people opting in, which is fine for the first 30 days until you gather data. But after that, you want to start segmenting the lead quality and only optimize for, let's say in our case, the grade A's. So that's a common mistake that I see in a lot of accounts, is that they don't segment those leads. So basically, they're training the AI with all sorts of quality when really they should be training it with just the good data. So when you're starting out a new account, how do you go about it? Well, like I said, you want to start with max conversions, and then you're going to choose the low quality, just the form opt-in. Let's say you're a lead generation business. You're going to do max conversion. Eventually, though, you're going to want to add a target CPA to kind of control the cost. If you have more than one conversion, or if you're in e-commerce, you'll want to switch to conversion value so you can set a target ROAS instead. Okay? But basically, when you first start out, you do max conversion. Once you have enough conversion, so the 15, and once you have a good baseline of the cost, then you can kind of set a target CPA to control how much you want to pay per conversion. Lesson number 2, tracking. So, the standard system for Google Ads is okay when you get started, but eventually you'll want to move to a better tracking solution like Hyros. And here's what I mean by tracking is that Google Ads only tracks conversions for 90 days. So if you have a longer sales cycle, it won't track beyond that. So what that means is, let's say somebody came in 6 months ago and today they decide to purchase. Google Ads won't capture that information, but a tracking platform like Hyros will, meaning it can tie back that sale that happened today that started 6 months ago. It can track it back to the exact campaign that did, originate that sale. So what that means to you is that a campaign that, if you just looked at the Google Ads data could be unprofitable. If you looked at more accurate data with a solution like Hyros, you could see that, hey, actually it's profitable. It's just the sales cycle is a little bit longer. So with better data, you can make better decisions. It allows you to keep good campaigns alive and double down on those campaigns and cut your losses. So you can identify, hey, on a long term, this campaign actually is performing worse. So let's, either pause it or reassign some budget. So at the end of the day, what that means to you is, same ad budget, but because your campaigns are better optimized, you get more profit out of that same ad budget. And so let's actually quickly look at Hyros. So this is Hyros tracking, and basically you kind of set it up on your website. It works with e-commerce, so platforms like Shopify. It's good also for tracking lead gen. The other advantage it has is it will do the tracking across channels. So meaning if somebody sees a meta ad, then Googles you organically, and then maybe 3 weeks later ends up buying from a Google ad, it will track that whole path, right? Organic, meta ads, Google ads, right? And so you can actually see how each channel is contributing to that sale. So meta ads could be taking more credit if you just looked in the meta ads manager. But in fact, when you have the full picture with Hyros, you can see that, hey, it did contribute, but it did not generate the entire sale on its own. So what that means to you is that you have more clarity, better data, so you can make better decisions on where you spend your money. Therefore, you're more profitable and you can generate more revenue. Another mistake I often see is not having sufficient ad budget. So the bare minimum is $100 a day per campaign in Google Ads, right? Google Ads AI, it works on data. So a small budget, you typically don't get enough data. So the campaigns won't get out of that learning phase they're in because they're spending so little. They're not getting enough data, therefore it can't find your ideal customer. So it might get you a lead or a sale here and there, but it's definitely going to be more expensive than it should. So what I typically recommend, and this depends on the industry, sometimes it's a lot higher than this, but in most cases, $100 a day per campaign is like the bare minimum. If you're in a very competitive industry, like different types of law firms or insurance, $100 a day won't do anything. So if you don't have the budget, I would actually recommend not running Google Ads campaigns until you have a proper budget, or else you might get a sale or a leader there, but you're just going to be basically wasting your money because Google Ads won't have enough data to optimize to find you those good leads and sales. So basically just a waste, so don't do it. The PMax will need more ad budget than that $100 a day. I typically recommend between $200 and $300 a day. So the PMax needs more budget because it does Google search, but it does all the other marketing channels that Google owns. So it shows your ads on YouTube, Gmail, Discover, Display, shopping channel if appropriate. So because there's all these extra channels, it needs more budget to test those channels and to spend on there to get that data. So PMax, I would say $250 a day is a good starting point. And again, it also depends on the industry. So number 4, campaign structure. So simplicity here is key. Also having fewer campaigns gives you more budget for each campaign. The effect of that is that each campaign has more budget to get more data, so they learn faster and they start performing better faster. So Typically, we start out with a search and a PMAX. Sometimes a brand campaign, if the brand is strong, we'll have a small brand campaign and we'll explicitly exclude it. With just this setup, we've scaled clients to 50K a day. So it's pretty basic. We'll dig into an account in just a few seconds. I'll also show a ChatGPT command. Competitors campaign, sometimes it's appropriate from the start. We typically like to maximize search in PMAX first, and then if appropriate, a competitors campaign. Brand campaign already covered, and then a demand generation. So this is the new YouTube campaign. This will also depend on the client, but like I said, typically we want to start with just a search and a PMAX and kind of maximize this right from the get-go. So let's actually look at an account that's set up this way. And so here we can see we have one main search campaign and then a performance max. And in this case, we're trying out as well a shopping campaign. So they are in e-commerce. Keep in mind that the PMAX also does e-commerce. So in this case, we want to test both. And then we have a small demand gen. In this case, it's actually just for remarketing. But for cold traffic, demand gen is also very good, depending on the client, right? Because this is, like I said, a YouTube ads campaign. So you need the videos. And the campaign structure is pretty basic. You want to have 3 to 4 ad groups, each ad group with a handful, 5, 10, 15 keywords that are related. That allows you to make relevant ads just for that handful of keywords. And then it will prevent you from having like those warnings of low quality keywords. So I would not put, 100 keywords in one ad group with 3 ads, because for sure some of these keywords will start underperforming, and again, you'll be wasting some budget. So that's the campaign structure. Again, like I said, you only need a handful of campaigns with a decent budget on each. So you don't need to go crazy and have 20, 30 campaigns. You just need some proper base campaigns with some good ad groups in them. And like I mentioned here's my ChatGPT command for the initial research for a client. So I have it here on the slide. I just copied and pasted it. And let's actually run it through ChatGPT. So this website, it's a red light device that they sell. So they're not my client. I don't do business with them. But basically, here's the command. Give me a detailed Google ad strategy for a company that sells red light therapy devices. Their website is this. And then the rest is pretty standard. We'll be running a search campaign. Give me the exact keywords, ad groups, and audiences. Give me the negative keyword list because you want to exclude some common stuff as well. Give me the ad copy. And then I tell them, hey, each ad should have 15 headlines, 4 descriptions. There's a character limit, so 30 for the headlines, 90 for the descriptions. And then I say, hey, the ad copy should be a mix of, the value proposition, the social proof, the keywords you're going to select, and so forth. And then we want to keep the reading level pretty basic, 6th grade or below, just so the ads are punchy and easy to read. And I typically do this in ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, all the AIs, and then I kind of pick and choose the headlines and look at the structure. So this gives us a good primer on what to target. And then there's, of course, additional research that needs to be done for the keywords and the exclusions and all that stuff. But as you can see, it gives you the negative keywords, the audiences, a good starting point for the ad copy, and so on. Lesson number 5, constantly adjusting things in your campaign. So Google Ads loves stability. So of course, when you're first starting out your campaign, like you want to set the settings, the ads, add all the keywords, that's fine. And then after launch, you might notice a mistake. So you might need to do some corrections or add some keywords. But after that, do not touch your campaign. So after you've launched your campaigns, everything is good. Do not touch it for at least 2 weeks, unless, like I said, there's a typo or there's a legal thing, but don't touch your campaigns, right? Google Ads loves stability. And so that initial 2 weeks period, it's when it's learning with the data. So if you're constantly changing the settings, the keywords, the budget, it constantly has to readjust and relearn. So what that means to you is that you're not getting the top performance from your campaign because you're touching it every day or every week. So once it's working, minimize your changes. I'd say like batch your changes first of all and change them, try once a month as opposed to weekly. And one specific example is that changing your target CPA on a campaign, you can only feel the effect sometimes 14 days or 3 weeks after you've made that change. So if you're changing every week, like playing with the CPA, that initial change you made at the start of the month, you won't even feel the effects up until like 3 or 4 weeks after you made that change. So if you change that target CPA every week, the campaign doesn't have time to readjust and relearn, and it's constantly in a learning mode, right? So it's not good for the campaign. Doesn't mean you won't get data, you won't get sales, you won't get leads. It just means it's underperforming as compared to your what it could be. A big one is pausing and restarting campaigns. That's a big no-no, unless you're pausing it like forever, like this campaign is bad and we're shutting it down. But let's say you have a holiday. Let's say you're not open July 4th. Instead of that, pausing or restarting the campaign, it's better to just adjust the ad schedule and kind of remove that day and then add that day back the next day. This pausing and restarting a campaign, huge negative effect. You like restart the learnings for the campaign. Even if it's paused for a day, it kind of starts from scratch. Adjusting the ad schedule is better. It will still have a negative impact, but not as bad as this. This basically you're telling Google, hey, we're restarting the campaign. You got to start from scratch. This we're saying, hey, this day is now off, but we'll keep running the campaign. So it's better to go that way. So for the holidays, maybe for Christmas, you guys have a week off or several days off. So instead of pausing the campaign, the less damaging options are to adjust the ad schedule or to reduce the budget a bit. Number 6, ad schedule. So you typically want to run your ads 24/7. The reason for it is the campaigns will get data constantly. So if you have, especially if you have a short schedule, let's say 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week, it's almost as if you're restarting the campaign every day. So it's definitely not optimal. I do get it that, there's business hours. And if let's say your business depends a lot on phone calls and the reps answering the phone and they only work from 10 to 4, that scenario, it's okay, but it's definitely not optimal from a Google Ads perspective. So if you can answer the leads that came overnight the next morning, I would highly recommend running your campaigns 24/7 because, the campaigns can learn more. And, sometimes people are doing the research after the kids go to bed at like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So even though your business might not be open, they might be doing the research and seeing your ads and then either call or submit a form right then and there or call you the next morning. So it's also why it's a good reason to be running the ads 24/7. But that's a common mistake, is that if you can avoid it, because it is a big performance hit, try to run your ads 24/7. So that's it for the 6 key lessons. As a recap, the first one again is lead segmentation. We want to train the AI only with the top quality leads or sales. Lesson number 2 is you want to have better tracking so you can go beyond the 90 days. And you can also see, if they clicked on a meta ad, then went organically, then clicked on your Google ad. Lesson number 3 is you want to make sure you have enough budget so your campaigns can learn and have enough data to start really optimizing for those good sales and leads. Lesson number 4 is to have proper campaign structure. So simpler is better, and it ensures that each campaign has enough budget to get you those sales and leads. And again, here's the prompt for the initial research for the keywords and the ads. Number 5 is to resist the urge to constantly modify things and adjusting your campaigns. Once they launch and, there's no mistakes or errors, just let them run and let them do their things. And number 6, let the ads run 24/7 if possible. That's it for the 6 key lessons. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Cheers.